The small ship moved slowly through space toward the massive alien station. Its name was the UES Harmony, and it looked nothing like the war machines that ruled the galaxy. The hull was clean white metal with no visible weapons. The engines were quiet and simple. Anyone looking at it would think humans were not very advanced. Inside the ship, Ambassador Hyun-woo Kim sat at his desk reading reports. He was a thin man with gray hair and kind eyes. His uniform was plain blue with no medals or scary symbols. He looked exactly like what the aliens expected from a weak species begging to join their club. Captain So-Young Park walked into his office. She was young for a ship captain, with short black hair and a calm face. Like everyone else on the ship, she wore a simple uniform that made humans look harmless. "We will reach the station in 2 hours," she said. "The alien ships are already surrounding us." Hyun-woo looked out the window. Huge warships floated around their small vessel. The Vorthak ships looked like giant metal spears covered in guns. The Solari ships were smooth and silver, but sensors showed they carried weapons that could destroy planets. The Breathen ships were fat and ugly, built more for carrying cargo than fighting, but they still had enough firepower to turn the Harmony into dust. "They want to scare us," Hyun-woo said quietly. "Let them think it is working." "So," Young nodded. She had been trained for this mission just like everyone else on the ship. They all knew their job was to look weak and frightened. It was not easy for professional soldiers to act like scared children, but they were very good at their jobs. The communication system made a noise. A huge alien face appeared on the screen. It had 4 eyes, sharp teeth, and skin like a snake. This was General Thexmore of the Vorthak Empire. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "Human vessel, you will follow our ships to Docking Bay 7. You will not deviate from the path. You will not scan our station. Any attempt to act against our orders will result in your immediate destruction." Hyun-woo stood up and bowed slightly. "Of course, General Thexmore. We are honored by your protection and guidance. We will follow all your instructions exactly." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in what might have been surprise. Most species argued or tried to show strength when threatened. The humans just agreed like obedient pets. "Good," Thexmore growled. "Remember your place, human." The screen went dark. So-Young looked at her ambassador with respect. She knew it took real strength to let an alien insult him without responding. But that was the plan. At the back of the ship, Chief Science Officer Tae-min Lee was working at his computer. He looked like a young student, with thick glasses and messy hair. The aliens would think he was just a harmless scientist. They would never guess that his simple scanners were recording everything about their weapons, shields, and ship designs. "Getting good data," he said to Ji-won Chong, who was sitting nearby. Ji-won looked like a secretary or assistant. She was small and quiet and always carried a tablet for taking notes. The aliens would never know she was actually Earth's best intelligence officer, and that her notes were detailed reports on alien psychology, tactics, and weaknesses. In the engine room, Dong-Hyun was doing his own secret work. He looked like a basic mechanic, always covered in grease and carrying tools, but his real job was maintaining a secret communication link with Earth. Every few hours, he sent coded messages hidden inside routine maintenance reports. Earth's military leaders knew everything that was happening. The Harmony docked at the alien station. The docking bay was huge, big enough to hold 100 ships like theirs. Alien workers moved around, loading cargo and fixing ships. They all stopped to stare at the small human vessel. Some pointed and laughed. Hyun-woo led his team through the station corridors. The aliens had built everything to be scary and impressive. The walls were black metal with red lights. Strange symbols covered every surface. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into darkness. Alien soldiers stood at every corner, holding weapons that glowed with dangerous energy. The human team walked, carefully, staying close together like frightened animals. They looked around with wide eyes, acting amazed and intimidated by everything they saw. None of the aliens noticed that Taemin's glasses were actually recording devices, or that Ji-won's tablet was mapping the entire station. They entered a massive council chamber. 3 huge thrones sat at the front, each one designed to make the alien leaders look powerful and terrifying. General Thexmore sat in the middle, his snake-like body coiled around a throne made of black metal and bones. To his left sat Overseer, now then of the Solari Collective. She was tall and thin, with silver skin and no hair. Her eyes were completely black and seemed to look right through people. Her throne was made of smooth crystal. On the right sat Merchant Prince Kolvas of the Breathen Consortium. He was fat and covered in expensive jewelry. His skin was orange and bumpy like a toad. His throne was gold and covered with gems, showing how rich his people were. "So," Thexmore said, his voice echoing through the chamber, "these are the humans. You look even weaker than we expected." Hyunwoo bowed deeply. "We are grateful for this opportunity to meet with such powerful and wise leaders. Earth wishes only to join the galactic community and learn from species as advanced as yours." Nalden's black eyes studied the humans. "Your technology is primitive. Your ships are slow and unarmored. What could you possibly offer the galaxy?" "We have minerals," Hyunwoo said humbly. "Our planet has metals and crystals that might be useful. We also have many workers who are eager to serve." Kolvas laughed, a sound like a pig snorting. "Workers, yes, that is all your species is good for. We have decided to accept your application for protected status." "Protected status?" Hyunwoo asked, though he already knew what it meant. "You will be under our guidance," Thexmore explained. "We will protect you from the dangers of the galaxy. In return, you will provide us with resources and labor. You will mine asteroids in your system and give us 70% of everything you find. You will build factories on your planet and make goods for our use. You will send us workers when we need them." "And if we agree to these terms?" Hyunwoo asked. "Then you live," Nalden said simply. "If you refuse, your species will be eliminated as a threat to galactic stability." The human team looked at each other with fear in their eyes. At least that was what the aliens saw. In reality, they were amazed at how perfectly everything was going according to plan. "We accept," Hyunwoo said quietly. "Earth will be honored to serve under your protection." The three alien leaders smiled with their different mouths. Another weak species had been brought under control. The humans would make excellent slaves. But in the back of the room, Dong-hyun was already sending a coded message to Earth. The message was simple. "The trap is set. They believe we are helpless. Phase 1 complete." On Earth, military leaders read the message and smiled. The aliens thought they had conquered humanity. They had no idea that the real game was just beginning. 6 months had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. The aliens were getting bolder every day. What started as simple demands had grown into something much worse. Admiral Woo Jin Han stood in the hidden command center deep under the Rocky Mountains. The room was carved from solid rock and filled with screens showing everything that happened in Earth's solar system. None of the aliens knew this place existed. They thought Earth's military was just a few small patrol boats and ground forces with basic weapons. "Show me the latest reports," Woo Jin said to his aide. General Eugene Choi walked over with a tablet. She was a short woman with sharp eyes and gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Like everyone in Earth's real military, she had been watching and waiting for months. "The Vorthak have built 3 more bases in our outer system," she said. "They are mining the asteroid belt without permission and taking everything. When our civilian miners complained, the Vorthak soldiers beat them up." Woo Jin's jaw tightened. "What else?" "The Solari took another 1,000 humans yesterday. They call it scientific research, but we know they are doing experiments. Some of the people they took 6 months ago still have not come back." "And the Breathen?" "They are charging us triple price for basic supplies now. They say humans are too stupid to make anything good, so we have to buy everything from them. Our colonies are starting to run out of medicine and food." On the main screen, they could see Vorthak warships flying through human space like they owned it. The alien ships moved in attack formations, their weapons powered up and ready to fire. They were not just patrol ships anymore, they were invasion fleets. "They are testing us," Woo Jin said quietly. "They want to see how much we will take before we break." High above in orbit, Ambassador Mi-young Seo was having another useless meeting with the Galactic Council. She sat in the small chair they had given humanity, while the 3 alien leaders sat on their big thrones looking down at her. Mi-young was a patient woman with kind eyes and a soft voice. The aliens thought she was weak because she never raised her voice or made threats. They did not know she had been a military lawyer before becoming a diplomat. She understood exactly what the aliens were doing, and she was documenting every crime they committed. Honored leaders, Mi-young said politely, I must protest the recent actions of Vorthak forces in human space. They attacked our mining station and injured 37 workers. General Thexmore made a sound like laughing. Your workers were in our way. They should be more careful. But the mining station was in the belt of asteroids that belongs to Earth under the protection agreement. We decided we needed those asteroids more than you do, Thexmore said. That is our right as your protectors. Mi-young bowed her head. Of course, we are grateful for your protection, but perhaps there could be some compensation for the injured workers? Compensation? Overseer Nal Then's black eyes glittered with amusement. Humans should be honored to serve the galaxy. Your workers were hurt while contributing to a greater cause. We will send more humans to replace the injured ones, Merchant Prince Kolvas added. You have plenty of workers. A few dozen more or less makes no difference. Mi-young made careful notes on her tablet. Every insult, every crime, every violation of their agreement was being recorded. But she kept her voice calm and respectful. I will inform Earth of your decisions, she said. We are always eager to serve. After the meeting, she walked slowly back to the human section of the station. Behind her, she could hear the aliens laughing about the pathetic humans who accepted any treatment without fighting back. On Earth, Jae-hyuk Kwan was working another miracle. As Minister of Resource Management, his job was to somehow meet every impossible demand the aliens made. They wanted more metals, more crystals, more manufactured goods, and more workers. Each month they asked for twice as much as the month before, but Jae-hyuk was very good at his job. He had secretly moved most of Earth's real mining and manufacturing to hidden facilities. The aliens only saw the operations they were allowed to see. When they demanded more resources, Jae-hyuk would make a big show of pushing human workers harder and opening new mines. The aliens thought they were bleeding Earth dry, but they were only getting the leftovers. The Brethren want another 1,000,000 tons of processed titanium, his assistant told him. Fine, Jae-hyuk said. Open Facility 7 and make sure they see. Lots of human workers looking tired and overworked. Let them think we are barely keeping up with their demands. Meanwhile, Sun Hee-nam was dealing with an even more dangerous problem. As Director of Colonial Affairs, she was responsible for protecting human settlements across the solar system. Every week, the aliens demanded that humans move away from more areas. They called it security optimization, but everyone knew they just wanted the best locations for themselves. Sun Hee had been quietly moving people for months, but she was not just moving them randomly. Every relocation was part of a careful plan. The aliens thought they were pushing humans into worthless areas, but Sun Hee was actually moving people to specially prepared safe zones. The Vorthak want us to evacuate the Titan colony, her aide reported. They say they need it for a military base. When do we have to leave? Sun Hee asked. 2 weeks. Sun Hee nodded. The Titan colony had been expecting this. Their real homes were already prepared in hidden locations throughout the outer system. In 2 weeks, they would make a big show of sadly packing up and leaving, while the aliens congratulated themselves on taking another prize from the weak humans. But the worst. Incidents were happening in space itself. Vorthak General Thexmore had started leading personal raids on human shipping. He would intercept cargo ships carrying supplies between Earth and the colonies, steal whatever he wanted, and sometimes hurt the crews just for fun. Captain Kyung-ho Bae commanded one of the merchant ships that got raided regularly. His ship was called the Morning Star, and it looked like a basic cargo hauler. The aliens had stopped it dozens of times, taking food, medicine, and equipment while laughing at the helpless human crew. But Kyung-ho was not really a merchant captain. He was Earth's military intelligence chief, and his cargo ship was actually packed with the most advanced sensors and recording equipment humanity had ever built. Every time the aliens raided his ship, they were giving away more secrets about their weapons, tactics, and ship designs. Here they come again, his communications officer said as Vorthak's ships approached. Remember the act, Kyung-ho told his crew. Look scared and helpless. Let them take whatever they want from Cargo Bay 3. Cargo Bay 3 was always full of supplies that looked valuable, but were actually cheap and easy to replace. The real valuable cargo was hidden in secret compartments the aliens had never found. General Thexmore himself beamed aboard with his soldiers. The huge alien looked around the simple cargo bay with satisfaction. These humans were so weak they could not even defend their own supply ships. More medicine and food, Thexmore said, pointing at the cargo containers. My soldiers need these more than your pathetic colonies do. Please, Kyung-ho said, making his voice sound frightened. Our people are already hungry. Could you leave some of the medical supplies? Thexmore backhanded him across the face. The human captain fell down, blood running from his nose. Humans do not bargain with their superiors, Thexmore growled. Be grateful we let you live. As the aliens loaded their stolen cargo, Kyung-ho's hidden cameras recorded everything. The way they moved, the weapons they carried, the discipline of their soldiers, even the way Thexmore gave orders. All of it was being stored in secret databases back on Earth. After the aliens left, Kyung-ho stood up and wiped the blood from his face. His crew gathered around him with concern. Are you all right, sir? His first officer asked. Kyung-ho smiled grimly. That was some of the best intelligence we have gotten yet. Command will be very interested in the new weapon modifications on their assault rifles. Across the galaxy, other species were watching what happened to humanity. Most of them felt sorry for the humans, but none of them wanted to help. The three ruling empires were too powerful to fight. It was better to stay quiet and hope the aliens did not notice them. The humans seemed to be the perfect example of what happened to weak species in the galaxy. They accepted every insult, every theft, every attack without fighting back. Some aliens started using acting human as an insult, meaning to be cowardly and helpless. But in the hidden command centers and secret facilities across Earth's solar system, something very different was happening. Every attack was being analyzed. Every insult was being recorded. Every stolen resource was being tracked. The aliens thought they were breaking humanity's spirit. They had no idea they were actually giving humanity everything it needed to destroy them. Admiral Woo Jin Han looked at the latest intelligence reports and smiled coldly. The aliens had been testing humanity for 6 months. Soon it would be time for humanity to return the favor. The New Horizon was humanity's pride and joy. The massive colony ship carried 50,000 people to their new home among the stars. Families, scientists, teachers, farmers, and engineers, all ready to build humanity's first settlement outside the solar system. The ship was white and clean, with gardens visible through the transparent sections. Children pressed their faces against the windows, excited to see their new world. Fleet Admiral Chong-min Lim watched the launch from Earth's command center. His wife Soo Jin and their 2 young children were aboard the New Horizon. They had volunteered to be part of the first wave of colonists, believing it was safe now that humanity had been in the galaxy for over a year. The ship is beautiful, General Yoo Jin Choi said, standing beside him. Those families are so brave. Chang-min nodded, but worry showed in his eyes. The alien empires had been getting more aggressive lately. Intelligence reports suggested they were planning something big. But Earth's leaders had agreed the colony mission should proceed. Humanity needed to expand, and they could not let fear stop them from growing. The New Horizon left Earth's solar system peacefully. Its course took it through neutral space toward a planet the Galactic Council had approved for human settlement. The journey would take 3 months at the ship's safe cruising speed. Regular messages came back from the colonists, sharing their excitement and hope for the future. But General Thexmore had other plans. The Vorthak leader stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bloodfang. Around him floated the most powerful war fleet in his empire. 50 battlecruisers, each one capable of destroying a planet. His 4 eyes gleamed with cruel satisfaction as he studied the reports about the human colony ship. The humans think they can expand without our permission, he told his officers. They think their pathetic diplomats can protect them. Today we show the galaxy what happens to species that forget their place. Commander Veltar, his second-in-command, looked uncomfortable. General, the colony ship is carrying only civilians, women and children. They have no weapons. Thexmore's snake-like head turned toward him. Exactly. The perfect target to send our message. When we destroy 50,000 humans, every species in the galaxy will remember who rules here. The Vorthak fleet moved through space like a pack of hungry predators. Their black ships were covered in weapon ports and armor plating. The Bloodfang led the formation, its massive guns already charging for battle. On the New Horizon, Captain In-ho Park was reviewing the day's reports when his sensors officer called out in alarm. Captain, we have contacts approaching fast. Very fast. In-ho hurried to the sensor station. On the screen, he could see the Vorthak fleet racing toward them. His blood turned cold. How many ships? 50, sir. All battleships. They are not responding to our communication attempts. Inho knew there was no escape. The New Horizon was a colony ship, not a warship. It was slow and completely unarmed. The nearest human patrol ship was weeks away. They were alone and helpless. "Send an emergency message to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them what is happening. And tell them we tried to surrender." The communication went out on all frequencies. Captain Inho Park formally surrendered his ship and requested safe passage for the civilian passengers. He offered to turn around and return to Earth. He begged the Vorthak to have mercy on the children aboard. General Thexmore received the message and laughed. "Record my response," he told his communications officer. "Send it on all galactic frequencies. I want everyone to hear this." His ugly face appeared on screens across the galaxy. "This is General Thexmore of the Vorthak Empire. The human colony ship has violated our space without permission. Their species has forgotten that they exist only because we allow it. Today we remind them of their place." The Bloodfang's main guns fired first. Beams of pure energy lanced across space and struck the New Horizon. The colony ship's shields collapsed instantly. Explosions tore through the civilian decks. The gardens that children had loved so much became fields of fire and death. More Vorthak ships opened fire. They took their time, making sure to cause as much suffering as possible. The New Horizon broke apart slowly, section by section. Escape pods launched desperately, carrying families trying to save their children. The Vorthak hunted down every escape pod and destroyed them one by one. The massacre lasted 2 hours. When it was over, nothing remained of the New Horizon but scattered debris and the bodies of 50,000 humans floating in the cold darkness of space. General Thexmore broadcast the destruction across the galaxy. "Let this be a lesson to all species," he announced. "The Vorthak Empire is your master. Humans, like all inferior races, exist only to serve us. Any attempt to grow beyond your assigned role will be met with total destruction." On Earth, the emergency message from the New Horizon arrived 30 minutes before the ship was destroyed. Fleet Admiral Changmin Lim read the words on his screen and felt his world collapse. His wife, his children, 50,000 innocent people, including families he knew personally. General Eugene Choi found him sitting alone in his office, staring at a picture of his family. Tears ran down his face, but his eyes burned with a fury she had never seen before. "Changmin," she said softly, "I am so sorry." He looked up at her. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, but filled with deadly promise. How long would it take to mobilize the real fleet? 48 hours for full deployment. But Changmin, we need orders from the president. We cannot act without authorization. President Eunji Ro was in an emergency meeting with Earth's top leaders. Around the table sat the men and women who had been playing a careful game of deception for over a year. Admiral Woo Jin Han, General Eugene Choi, Intelligence Chief Kyung-ho Bae, and a dozen others. "The aliens have crossed a line they cannot uncross," President Yoonji said. Her voice was calm, but everyone could hear the steel beneath it. "For months we have endured their insults and attacks for the sake of our larger plan. But murdering 50,000 civilians changes everything. The galaxy needs to see what humans really are," Admiral Woo Jin said. "The aliens think we are weak because we choose to be peaceful. They do not understand the difference." Dr. Ha-Un Park, Director of Human Defense Research, spoke up. "All our systems are ready. The hidden fleet, the weapons platforms, the planetary defenses, everything we have built in secret over the past year can be activated within hours." "What about the diplomatic situation?" someone asked. "There will be no more diplomacy," President Yoon-ji said firmly. "Ambassador Hyun-woo will deliver our final message to the Galactic Council. After that, we respond the only way these monsters understand." At the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Hyun-woo Kim received his orders from Earth. For over a year, he had smiled politely while aliens insulted his species and threatened his people. He had bowed his head and accepted every humiliation for the sake of humanity's greater plan. But now the plan had changed. Hyun-woo walked into the council chamber where the 3 alien leaders sat on their thrones, probably expecting him to beg for mercy or ask for protection from future attacks. Instead, he stood straight and tall for the first time since arriving at the station. General Thexmore was still celebrating his victory. "Ah, the human comes to grovel. Tell me, little ambassador, did you enjoy watching your colony ship burn?" Hyunwoo looked directly into the alien's 4 eyes. "No," he said simply. "I did not." The other aliens looked surprised. This was the first time the human ambassador had ever disagreed with anything they said. "You seem upset," Overseer Nall then observed. "Do you have something to say about our rightful punishment of your species?" Hyun-woo reached into his pocket and took out a small device. He placed it on the floor in front of the alien thrones. It began projecting a holographic message that filled the entire chamber. President Yoon-ji-ro appeared in the hologram, wearing not the simple civilian clothes the aliens had always seen, but a military uniform covered with medals and insignia of rank. Behind her stood Admiral Woo Jin-han and the other leaders of Earth's true government. "To the so-called leaders of the Galactic Council," President Yoon-ji said, "for over 1 year, humanity has attempted to coexist peacefully with your empires. We have endured your insults, accepted your theft of our resources, and tolerated your attacks on our people. We did this not from weakness, but from a sincere desire for peace." The aliens were staring at the hologram in confusion. The human president looked nothing like the weak leader they had imagined. "Today, you murdered 50,000 innocent civilians, including women and children who pose no threat to anyone. You did this not in self-defense or even in war, but simply to demonstrate your power over those you consider weak." President Yoon-ji's eyes grew cold. "You have made a fundamental error in judgment. You mistook our restraint for weakness. You confused our desire for peace with an inability to wage war. You assumed that because we chose not to fight, we did not know how to fight." General Thexmore started to stand up, but something in the human president's voice made him freeze. "Effective immediately, all diplomatic relations with your empires are terminated. All humans are hereby withdrawn from areas under your control. You have 72 hours to remove your forces from human space and return all human prisoners to their families. And if we refuse?" Thexmore snarled. President Yoon-ji smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Then you will discover the 72 hours passed in strange silence across the galaxy. Every human ship had vanished. Every human worker had disappeared. Every human diplomat had gone home. The alien empires found themselves suddenly alone in space that had been full of human activity just days before. General Thexmore stood on the bridge of the Bloodfang, staring at empty space where human mining ships used to work. His officers looked nervous, but he refused to show any concern. "They are hiding like scared animals," he told his crew. "When they get hungry enough, they will come crawling back to beg for food." But deep down, something bothered him. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen an entire species just disappear like this. Usually, when he threatened weak races, they either fought back immediately or surrendered completely. The humans had done neither. The timer reached 0 at exactly noon, Earth time. At that moment, every sensor in the galaxy began screaming warnings. Ships that had been invisible suddenly appeared on scanners. Massive signals that had been hidden for over a year blazed to life. The darkness between stars filled with the heat signatures of engines and weapons. Admiral Woo Jin-han stood in the command center of the UES Retribution, humanity's flagship. The ship was enormous, larger than most space stations. Its hull was black metal covered with weapon systems that made Vorthak battleships look like toys. Around it floated 100 more ships just as large and dangerous. "All stations report ready," his communications officer announced. "Very good," Woo Jin said calmly. "Send the message to all human fleets. Operation Courtesy's End begins now." Across the solar system, human ships that had been hiding in the asteroid belt and the dark spaces beyond Neptune powered up their engines. These were not the small, peaceful vessels the aliens had seen before. These were warships built in secret over decades, using technology the galaxy had never imagined. Fleet Admiral Changmin Lim commanded the second battle group from his ship, the UES Vengeance. His eyes were red from crying for his family, but his hands were steady as he gave orders to his captains. "Remember," he said over the fleet communication system, "we are not here for conquest. We are here for justice. Every shot we fire is for the 50,000 innocents who died aboard the New Horizon." Captain Soo-Jin Lee commanded the stealth destroyer, Silent Thunder. For months, her ship had been following Vorthak fleets without being detected. She and dozens of other stealth captains had mapped every alien base, recorded every patrol route, and identified every weakness in their defenses. "Target confirmed," her weapons officer reported. "Vorthak supply depot, lightly defended." "Fire," Su Jin said simply. The Silent Thunder's weapons were nothing like the crude guns and missiles the aliens used. Quantum torpedoes materialized inside the enemy station and exploded from within. The entire depot vanished in a flash of light, taking with it enough supplies to feed a Vorthak fleet for months. Similar attacks happened simultaneously across Vorthak space. Supply lines that had existed for centuries disappeared in minutes. Communication relays went silent. Military bases that had never been threatened in their entire history suddenly found themselves under attack by invisible enemies. General Thexmore received the first reports with disbelief. "Impossible. Humans do not have this technology. Our intelligence said they barely had spaceflight." "Sir," his communications officer said nervously, "we are receiving a transmission. It is coming from everywhere at once." The main screen activated, showing Fleet Admiral Chang Min Lim standing on his bridge. Behind him, human officers worked at stations covered with technology far more advanced than anything in the Vorthak fleet. "General Thexmore," Chang Min said, his voice calm but filled with terrible purpose. "My name is Fleet Admiral Chang Min Lim of the Human Defense Force. My wife and children were aboard the colony ship you destroyed. You murdered them for no reason except to show your power over those you thought were weak." Thexmore tried to respond, but Chang Min continued speaking. "For over a year, we have watched you steal from us, hurt our people, and treat us like animals. We accepted this treatment not because we were weak, but because we hoped you might learn to be better than you are. We were wrong." The image changed, showing human fleets moving through space like deadly storms. Ships appeared and disappeared at will, striking targets with impossible precision before vanishing again. "You wanted to see human strength," Chang Min said. "Now you will see nothing else." The Bloodfang shook as weapons struck its shields. Thexmore looked around in panic as his officers reported damage from all directions. But there were no enemy ships visible on their sensors. Dr. Jun Ho Kim watched the battle from his laboratory deep inside Earth's moon. As the architect of humanity's secret weapons program, he had spent decades preparing for this moment. The aliens had always assumed humans were technologically primitive because that was what humanity wanted them to think. "How are the quantum disruptors performing?" he asked. His assistant. "Perfectly, sir. The alien shields cannot adapt to weapons that exist in multiple dimensions at once. Their ships are completely defenseless." On the screen, another Vorthak battleship exploded as human weapons tore it apart from the inside. The aliens were firing, desperately in all directions, but they could not hit enemies they could not see. Meanwhile, the Solari Collective was discovering their own problems. Their silver ships, so proud of their advanced sensors and computers, found themselves blind and confused. Every time they tried to scan for human ships, their instruments showed nothing but empty space. Overseer Nal then stood in her command center as reports poured in from across her empire. "How can an entire human fleet be invisible to our sensors?" "We do not know," her chief scientist admitted. "Their stealth technology is beyond our understanding. It is as if they exist in a different reality than we do." The truth was simpler than the aliens imagined. For over a year, every harmless human, scientists like Taemin Lee had been studying alien sensor technology. They had learned exactly how the alien systems worked, then designed human ships to be completely invisible to them. Captain Min-Soo Jung commanded the assault carrier Thunderstrike. His ship carried not fighters or bombers, but something the aliens had never seen before. Thousands of small drones, each one controlled by artificial intelligence more advanced than anything in the galaxy. "Launch all hunter-killer swarms," he ordered. The drones poured out of his ship like angry insects. Each one was no bigger than a person, but they moved with perfect coordination and carried weapons that could destroy ships 1,000 times their size. They spread across Solari space, hunting down every military target they could find. The Solari tried to fight back, but their weapons were designed to destroy large ships, not tiny, fast-moving targets. The drones swarmed over their fleets like wolves attacking sheep. Overseer Nal then watched in horror as her most advanced battleship was torn apart by creatures she could barely see. "Send a surrender message to the humans," she ordered. "We have tried," her communications officer replied. "They are not accepting any communications from us. The Breathen Consortium was having their own nightmare. Their fat merchant ships and hired mercenaries were no match for human military technology. Worse, the humans seemed to know exactly where every Breathen ship and base was located. Merchant Prince Kolvas had built his empire by being smarter and more cunning than his enemies. But as he watched human ships appear out of nowhere to destroy his most secret facilities, he realized he had been outplayed from the very beginning. They knew. He whispered to his advisors. They knew everything. Every ship we sent to human space, every base we built, every plan we made. They were watching us the entire time. Captain Kyung-ho Bae, the intelligence officer who had pretended to be a simple merchant for so long, now commanded a battle fleet of his own. His ships carried weapons specifically designed to counter Breathen tactics. Every raid the aliens had made on human shipping had taught the humans exactly how Breathen forces operated. "Target their command ships first," he told his captains. "Cut off their communications and they will panic." The Breathen tried to retreat, but there was nowhere to run. Human ships were everywhere, moving faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. Their weapons struck with perfect accuracy from distances the aliens could not even imagine. In just 6 hours, 3 galactic empires that had ruled for centuries were completely destroyed. Not conquered or occupied, but utterly eliminated as military forces. Their fleets were gone, their bases were rubble, and their leaders were either dead or running for their lives. The rest of the galaxy watched in stunned silence as the species they had thought were weak and helpless revealed themselves to be the most dangerous military force anyone had ever seen. But the most shocking thing was not the power of human weapons or the skill of human tactics. It was the restraint they showed. When alien ships surrendered, humans accepted the surrender and protected the survivors. When civilian populations were threatened by the fighting, human forces went out of their way to avoid harm to innocents. The humans had not come to conquer or enslave, as the 3 empires had done to so many others. They had come to stop the violence and cruelty, then go home. Fleet Admiral Changmin Lim stood on his bridge. The galaxy was quiet for the first time in 1,000 years. No Vorthak fleets terrorized peaceful worlds. No Solari ships kidnapped people for experiments. No Breathen merchants cheated weaker species out of their resources. The 3 empires that had ruled through fear and violence were gone, their leaders dead or hiding in the furthest corners of space. President Yoon-ji-ro stood in the rebuilt Galactic Council chamber, but everything was different now. The 3 massive thrones were gone, replaced by simple chairs arranged in a circle. Representatives from dozens of species sat together as equals, something that had never happened before in galactic history. "The question before us today," President Yoon-ji said, "is not who will rule the galaxy. The question is whether anyone should rule it at all." Ambassador Hyunwoo Kim, no longer pretending to be weak or frightened, sat with the other delegates. For over a year he had endured insults and threats from the alien empires. Now those same empires were dust, and the species that had feared them were learning what freedom meant. A delegate from the Kalari spoke up. They were a peaceful, bird-like species that had been enslaved by the Vorthak for centuries. "Humanity has the power to control us all. Why do you not simply take command as the previous empires did?" President Yoon-ji smiled sadly. "Because that is not who we are. We did not fight the 3 empires to become them. We fought them because we believe every species has the right to choose its own path." Admiral Woo Jin-han entered the chamber and walked to the president's side. His uniform now showed his real rank and the medals he had earned in the brief but decisive war. The alien delegates looked at him with a mixture of respect and fear. "The human military forces are withdrawing to our own space," he announced. "We will maintain patrol fleets to keep the peace during the transition period, but we have no intention of occupying anyone's territory or controlling anyone's government." A delegate from the Zephyrians raised a tentacle nervously. Their species had been forced to give most of their resources to the Breathen for decades. But what if the violence returns? What if new empires try to replace the old ones? How can we defend ourselves? Dr. Min-ho Song, Earth's new director of galactic relations, stood up. He was a quiet man who had spent years studying alien cultures and languages. "That is why we are proposing the Earth Accords, a new set of laws that will govern how species interact with each other. The main screen showed a document written in dozens of languages. The Earth Accords were simple but revolutionary. No species could attack another without provocation. All trade must be fair and voluntary. No one could be enslaved or forced to work against their will. Every species had the right to govern itself without interference. And who will enforce these laws? Asked a delegate from the Morvani, a species that had suffered under Solari experimentation. We all will, President Yunji replied. Any species that breaks these laws will face the combined response of everyone else. No single empire will ever again be strong enough to terrorize the galaxy. General Eugene Choi was overseeing the process of dismantling the old imperial structures. Vorthak slave camps were being shut down and their prisoners sent home. Solari research facilities were being destroyed, their victims rescued and healed. Breathen monopolies were being broken up, allowing free trade to flourish for the first time. It is amazing, she told her aide as they watched former slaves boarding ships to return to their home worlds. Some of these people have been prisoners for their entire lives. They do not even remember where they came from. The hardest part was dealing with the species that had helped the three empires. Many smaller races had served as enforcers or suppliers, either from fear or greed. Some delegates wanted to punish them harshly, but the humans argued for mercy. Revenge creates more enemies, Admiral Wu Jin explained to the council. Justice creates friends. We will hold people responsible for their crimes, but we will not destroy entire species for the actions of their leaders. Captain Sujin Lee was commanding one of the peacekeeping fleets patrolling former Vorthak space. Her job was to prevent any remaining Imperial forces from regrouping and to protect species that were still vulnerable. Captain, her communications officer reported, we are receiving a distress call from the Altani system. A group of former Vorthak officers is trying to restart slave operations there. How many ships? Sujin asked. 3 light cruisers and a dozen fighters. They are threatening to destroy Altani colonies if the locals do not surrender. Sujin nodded. Set course for Altani. Send a message to the Vorthak ships. Tell them they have one chance to surrender and leave peacefully. Silent thunder dropped out of hyperspace above the Altani homeworld. The former Vorthak officers, desperate to rebuild their empire, ignored the human warning and opened fire on the defenseless planet below. They died 30 seconds later, destroyed by weapons they never saw coming. The Altani people, who had lived, in terror of Vorthak raids for generations, watched in wonder as human ships took positions around their world. You are safe now, Sujin broadcast to the planet. No one will threaten you again while we are here. But the most important work was happening in the hidden laboratories and research facilities across human space. Dr. Junho Kim was leading a team of scientists from dozens of species, working together to solve problems that had plagued the galaxy for centuries. The medical data we recovered from Solari facilities is horrifying, he told his international team. But we can use it to develop cures for diseases they created. We can heal the damage they did. Scientists who had been enemies just months before now worked side by side. Former Solari researchers, horrified by what their government had done, shared their knowledge freely to help undo the harm. Vorthak engineers helped design new defensive systems to protect weaker species. Even some Breathen economists worked to create fair trading systems. The transformation was not easy. Some species struggled with the concept of freedom after centuries of oppression. Others tried to take advantage of the chaos to grab power for themselves. There were conflicts and disagreements, but for the first time in galactic history, these problems were solved through discussion and compromise instead of violence. Captain Min Soo-jung was patrolling the border regions when his sensors detected something unusual. A massive fleet was approaching from outside the galaxy, ships unlike anything in their databases. Unknown vessels, this is Captain Young of the Human Defense Force. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. The response came in a language no one had heard before. After running it through translation systems, the message became clear. We are the hegemony of distant stars. We have come to claim this galaxy for our empire. Surrender now, and you will be allowed to serve us. Min-Soo looked at his communications officer and smiled grimly. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have visitors who apparently have not heard about our recent policy changes. Within hours, human fleets were moving to intercept the newcomers. But this time, they were not alone. Ships from dozens of species joined the human forces, all flying under the banner of the Earth Accords. The Kalari sent their fastest scouts. The Zephyrians provided their advanced shields. The Morvani contributed their powerful sensors. Species that had never cooperated before were working together to defend their newfound freedom. Fleet Admiral Changmin Lim commanded the combined fleet from his flagship. As he watched ships from across the galaxy take formation around him, he thought about his wife and children. They had died believing in a dream of peace between species. Now that dream was becoming reality. "All ships report ready," his communications officer announced. "Send a message to the hegemony," Changmin ordered. "Tell them that this galaxy is under the protection of the Earth Accords. They are welcome to trade and visit peacefully, but any attempt at conquest will be met with the combined force of every free species here." The hegemony fleet, expecting to find a galaxy of weak and divided species, instead found themselves facing a united force unlike anything they had ever encountered. After a brief exchange of threats and warnings, they chose to withdraw rather than face the same fate as the three empires. As the alien fleet disappeared into the darkness beyond the galaxy's edge, Changmin received a message from Earth. President Yunji was announcing the formal establishment of the Galactic Peace Council, with representatives from every species committed to the Earth Accords. "We did it," General Eugene Choi said, joining him on the bridge. "We actually created peace." Changmin nodded, but his expression was thoughtful. "We created the possibility of peace. Maintaining it will be much harder than winning it." On Earth, in the same hidden command center where the war had been planned, a new generation of leaders was being trained. They would not be warriors like Changmin and Wu Jin, but diplomats and peacekeepers who would spend their lives protecting what had been won. Taemin Lee, now Director of Galactic Sciences, was working with researchers from 100 worlds to solve problems that affected everyone. Climate restoration, disease prevention, and resource management were replacing weapons development as humanity's top priorities. "The irony," he told his assistant, "is that we spent decades preparing for war, but our greatest victory came from choosing not to use that."